I wasn't sure what the fuss was about until I snuggled up with this throw blanket, and wow, I'm hooked. I love its soft and cozy feel against my skin, wrapping me like a warm hug. The vibrant colors and design make it a statement piece in my living space, adding a touch of style and comfort. It's surprisingly lightweight, but still keeps me warm. Perfect for those lazy Netflix nights or chilly mornings. With the variety of sizes available, you can easily find the perfect fit for your couch or bed. Honestly, it's the perfect blend of function and fashion, and I can't imagine my home without it. This is more than just a blanket. It's a game changer for comfort lovers. Go get yours now.
Deuteronomy opens with Moses standing before the Israelites on the plains of Moab. This is a farewell address. 40 years have passed since they fled Egypt. Now they stand on the cusp of the Promised Land. Moses, their leader, is about to leave them. He won't be crossing the Jordan River with them. His time is drawing to a close. He has one last crucial message for his people. He needs to prepare them for the future. He begins by reminding them of their shared history. He recounts their journey from Egypt, the miracles they witnessed, the challenges they overcame. He aims to steel their resolve for the Promised Land. The journey from Egypt to the plains of Moab was long and arduous. It was a journey fraught with danger and uncertainty, a testament to both human frailty and divine providence. Moses recounts key moments from this journey, moments that shaped the Israelites into the people they had become. He speaks of the Exodus, their miraculous escape from slavery in Egypt. He reminds them of the parting of the Red Sea, a breathtaking display of God's power that allowed them to pass through on dry ground while the pursuing Egyptian army was swept away. He speaks of the giving of the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai, the very foundation of their covenant with God. He recounts their grumbling and complaining in the wilderness, their moments of doubt and fear. He reminds them of the times they tested God's patience, the consequences of their disobedience. Through these stories, Moses paints a vivid picture of their shared past. He reminds them of God's power and faithfulness, even in the face of their own shortcomings. He underscores the importance of obedience and the dangers of straying from God's path. Moses knows his time is short. He will not be leading the Israelites into the Promised Land. This harsh reality weighs heavily on him. He had longed to see the fulfillment of God's promise, to witness the Israelites settling in the land destined for them. But God had decreed otherwise. God had chosen Joshua, a man of courage and faith, to succeed Moses. Moses had seen Joshua's leadership during the battle against the Amalekites. He knew Joshua was a worthy successor, capable of guiding the Israelites in the challenges ahead. Standing before the assembled Israelites, Moses formally commissions Joshua as their new leader. He lays his hands on Joshua, a symbolic gesture of transferring authority and blessing. He encourages Joshua and reassures the Israelites, reminding them that God will be with them just as he was with Moses. The transition of leadership is a pivotal moment. It marks the end of an era, the close of Moses' extraordinary leadership. It also heralds a new beginning, a time for the next generation to step forward and claim their inheritance. Section 4. The Weight of Obedience, a Call to Remember. Central to Moses' farewell address is a fervent exhortation to obey God's laws. He understands that the Israelites' future well-being, their very survival, depends on their faithfulness to the covenant. He knows that the allure of idolatry and the temptation to stray from God's path will be strong in the Promised Land. Moses reiterates the importance of remembering. He urges the Israelites to remember all that God has done for them, to remember the lessons learned from their failures, and to remember the promises made and the covenant they carry. He emphasizes that their success hinges not on their own strength or wisdom, but on their obedience to God. He stresses the importance of teaching the next generation. He tells them to instill in their children a deep reverence for God and a commitment to his laws. He understands that the covenant is not merely a contract, it's a way of life, a legacy to be passed down through generations. He implores them not to forget, not to forsake the God who had delivered them and who promised them a future filled with hope and blessing. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase really helps to bring you more content. Section 5. Cities of Refuge, Mercy in a Land of Justice. In the midst of his instructions about the law and the importance of obedience, Moses introduces a concept that highlights God's mercy and justice. He sets aside 3 cities east of the Jordan River as cities of refuge. These cities are to serve as safe havens for individuals who accidentally killed someone. This provision reflects an understanding of human fallibility and the need for tempered justice. It acknowledges that not every death is intentional, that there are instances where an individual may cause the death of another without malice or premeditation. The cities of refuge offer a path to justice while tempering it with mercy. They prevent acts of vengeance and ensure that those who committed unintentional homicide are not unjustly punished. This provision emphasizes that while God's law is absolute, his justice is always tempered with compassion. Section 6. The 10 Commandments, an enduring covenant. The heart of Moses' message lies in the 10 Commandments. These divine decrees, etched in stone by the finger of God himself, form the bedrock of the covenant between God and the Israelites. They are not merely a list of prohibitions, they are a blueprint for a life lived in right relationship with God and with one another. Moses recounts the 10 Commandments, emphasizing their significance and their enduring relevance. He reminds the Israelites that these are not arbitrary rules, but expressions of God's holy character and his desire for their well-being. The 10 Commandments cover a wide range of human behavior, from the worship of God to interpersonal relationships, from honesty and integrity to respect for property and life. They provide a framework for a just and compassionate society, a society where God is honored and where people treat each other with dignity and respect. Section 7. Love and Legacy, Passing the Torch of Faith. As Moses' farewell address draws to a close, he leaves the Israelites with a final, poignant message. He summarizes their covenant with God in 2 commands. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. And these words which I command you this day shall be on your heart. These commands encapsulate a life of faithful obedience to God. With these final words, Moses passes the torch of faith to the next generation. He leaves them with a legacy of faith, a challenge to love God with all their being.
The Book of Deuteronomy stands as a pivotal point in the biblical narrative. It serves as a bridge between the Israelites' arduous journey through the wilderness and their entry into the Promised Land. Moses, the great prophet and leader, addresses the Israelites with a mixture of hope, exhortation, and warning. He recounts their history, reminding them of God's deliverance from Egypt and his faithfulness throughout their wanderings. Moses lays out the terms of the covenant, God's sacred agreement with his chosen people. He emphasizes the importance of obedience, stressing that their success and prosperity in the land hinge on their faithfulness to God's laws. He warns against the dangers of idolatry, the allure of foreign gods, and the temptation to stray from the path God has set before them. Deuteronomy is more than just a collection of laws and regulations. It is a passionate plea for covenant faithfulness. It is a reminder that true freedom comes from living in obedience to God, the one who has delivered them and called them to be his own. At the heart of Deuteronomy lies the concept of covenant. God chose the Israelites, not because they were numerous or powerful, but because he loved them and desired to have a special relationship with them. This relationship, however, was not without its obligations. God promised to bless and protect his people, but they, in turn, were expected to love and obey him. A key element of this obedience involved the utter rejection of idolatry. The Israelites were to destroy all traces of the pagan religions they encountered in the land. This included tearing down altars, smashing idols, and cutting down sacred poles. Such actions were not merely symbolic, they represented a radical commitment to the one true God. The surrounding nations, with their fertility cults and child sacrifices, posed a constant threat to the Israelites' faith and moral fiber. By purging the land of these influences, the Israelites would be better able to maintain their own spiritual purity and live in accordance with God's will. Just as the Israelites were to be a light to the nations, we are called to be salt and light in a dark and decaying world. Deuteronomy paints a clear picture of the consequences of obedience and disobedience. Moses lays out a detailed list of blessings that await the Israelites if they remain faithful to the covenant. These blessings encompass every aspect of life, from abundant harvests and healthy livestock to victory in battle and peace within their borders. On the other hand, Moses warns of dire consequences if they choose to disregard God's commands. Disobedience will bring curses, drought, famine, pestilence, defeat in battle, and ultimately exile from the land. The choice is stark: life and blessing under God's favor, or death and destruction as a result of their sin. This emphasis on the consequences of our choices serves as a powerful reminder that our actions have meaning. God desires our obedience because he knows that it leads to life and flourishing. The blessings and curses outlined in Deuteronomy are not merely rewards and punishments. They are the natural outworking of living in or out of harmony with God's design. Disobedience, on the other hand, leads us down a path of destruction and despair. Section 4. Remembering the journey, ingratitude and the peril of forgetting. Throughout Deuteronomy, Moses emphasizes the importance of remembering. He repeatedly reminds the Israelites of their deliverance from Egypt, their miraculous provision in the wilderness, and their utter dependence on God for every breath they take. This constant remembrance is not merely about nostalgia, it is about cultivating gratitude and humility. Moses knows that prosperity can be a dangerous thing. When life is good and our needs are met, it is easy to forget the source of our blessings. We begin to take God's faithfulness for granted, attributing our success to our own strength and ingenuity. To combat this tendency, Moses urges the Israelites to remember their history, to tell their children the stories of God's faithfulness, and to never forget the lessons learned during their time in the wilderness. By keeping the memory of God's past provision alive, they would be less likely to stray from him in the present. We must cultivate a spirit of gratitude, remembering all that he has done for us, and acknowledging his hand in every blessing we receive. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase really helps to bring you more content. Section 5. The Golden Calf, a stark reminder of human fragility. One of the most sobering stories in Deuteronomy is the account of the Golden Calf. While Moses was on Mount Sinai receiving the 10 Commandments, the Israelites, overcome by fear and impatience, constructed an idol to worship. This act of blatant disobedience revealed the fragility of the human heart and its constant propensity to wander from God. The Golden Calf incident serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that even after experiencing God's deliverance and provision, we are still capable of profound spiritual failure. It highlights the deceptive nature of sin, which often promises satisfaction, but ultimately delivers only emptiness and despair. It is not merely a matter of worshipping statues or images. It is about placing anything or anyone above God in our lives. The Golden Calf incident is a stark reminder that we are all susceptible to spiritual compromise. Section 6. One God, one altar. Centralized worship and spiritual unity. In Deuteronomy 12, God commands the Israelites to establish a central place of worship. This was not merely a matter of logistics. It was about fostering spiritual unity and preventing the syncretism that often arose when worship was decentralized. By having one designated place for sacrifices and offerings, God ensured that the Israelites would remain unified in their worship and avoid the pitfalls of religious innovation. This emphasis on centralized worship highlights the importance of spiritual authority and the dangers of religious individualism. God had chosen a specific priesthood, a specific set of rituals, and a specific location for his people to encounter him. Any deviation from this divinely ordained order would inevitably lead to confusion and error. The call for spiritual unity and submission to God's established order remains as relevant today as it was in ancient Israel. Section 7. Conclusion: a timeless covenant for all generations. Deuteronomy concludes with a powerful exhortation to covenant faithfulness. Moses reminds the Israelites that the covenant is not merely a contract, it is a relationship. It is a relationship built on God's unwavering love and faithfulness, and it demands a response of love and obedience from his people. The blessings and curses outlined in Deuteronomy are not arbitrary. They are the natural outworking of living in or out of harmony with God's design. While Deuteronomy was specifically addressed to the Israelites on the verge of entering the Promised Land, its message transcends time and culture. It calls us to remember his faithfulness, to obey his commands, and to live lives that reflect our love for him. As we navigate the complexities of our own lives, may we remember the lessons of Deuteronomy and experience the fullness of life that God intends for all who love and serve him.
Deuteronomy, meaning second law, serves as a powerful reminder of God's covenant with his people. Chapters 13 through 18 in particular provide a blueprint for a society rooted in faith, justice, and compassion. These chapters offer timeless principles that are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They emphasize the importance of remaining faithful to God, caring for the vulnerable, and upholding righteous leadership. Let's explore the key teachings of these chapters and discover how they can enrich our lives. Imagine a society built on a foundation of trust, generosity, and fairness. This is the vision presented in Deuteronomy 13 through 18. These chapters, addressed to the Israelites on the cusp of entering the Promised Land, lay out God's expectations for their individual and communal lives. They are a call to live differently, set apart by their devotion to God and their commitment to righteousness. By adhering to these principles, the Israelites would not only experience God's blessings but also stand as a shining example for other nations. These chapters touch on a wide range of topics, from the deeply personal, such as dietary laws, to the broadly societal, such as the appointment of judges. They provide specific instructions on how to worship God, treat others fairly, and govern wisely. While some of these laws may seem specific to ancient Israel, the underlying principles of love, justice, and obedience to God transcend time and culture. As we delve into these chapters, we'll uncover the heart of God's desire for his people. We'll see that true faith is not merely about outward rituals, but about inward transformation that impacts every aspect of life. We'll discover that God cares deeply about the poor and marginalized, calling us to extend compassion and generosity. And we'll learn that leadership is not about power but about serving others and upholding God's standards. Deuteronomy 13 addresses a crucial aspect of faith, remaining steadfast in the face of deception. It warns against false prophets who might arise, even performing signs and wonders, to lead people astray from God. These false prophets might appear convincing, tempting people with what seems appealing or advantageous. However, their ultimate goal is to draw people away from the one true God. This chapter serves as a reminder that we must be discerning and test everything against the Word of God. Just because something appears miraculous or feels right doesn't necessarily mean it aligns with God's will. We must be rooted in Scripture, able to recognize false teachings and reject them. Our loyalty should lie first and foremost with God and His Word, not with charismatic personalities or appealing promises that contradict God's truth. The consequences of following false prophets are severe, leading individuals and even entire communities astray. This highlights the seriousness of staying true to God and His commands. It's a call to be vigilant, to guard our hearts and minds against deception, and to hold fast to the truth found in God's Word. In our modern world, we encounter various voices and ideologies vying for our attention and allegiance. It's easy to be swayed by eloquent speakers or enticing promises. However, Deuteronomy 13 reminds us to test everything against the unchanging standard of God's Word. We must develop a discerning spirit, able to identify and reject teachings that contradict biblical truth. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase really helps to bring you more content. Deuteronomy 14 delves into the practical aspects of living a holy life, addressing dietary laws and the principle of tithing. The Israelites were given specific instructions on which animals were considered clean and unclean for consumption. While these laws might seem arbitrary at first glance, they served to set the Israelites apart as God's chosen people, and promoted a lifestyle of holiness and obedience. Beyond the physical act of consuming food, these laws symbolized a deeper spiritual truth. Just as God was selective about the food his people consumed, he desired them to be selective about the influences they allowed into their lives. They were to be set apart, distinct from the surrounding nations in their thoughts, actions, and values. This chapter also introduces the concept of tithing, instructing the Israelites to give a tenth of their produce to the Lord. Tithing was an act of worship, acknowledging God's ownership over everything and expressing gratitude for his blessings. It served as a reminder that everything we have comes from God, and that we are called to be good stewards of his resources. Tithing also played a vital role in caring for the Levites, who dedicated their lives to serving in the temple and for the poor and vulnerable within the community. It was a tangible way for the Israelites to demonstrate their love for God and their neighbors. Deuteronomy 15 emphasizes God's heart for the poor and marginalized, outlining provisions for debt cancellation and the freeing of slaves. The year of release, observed every 7 years, served as a powerful reminder of God's compassion and his desire for justice. During this year, all debts between Israelites were canceled, offering a fresh start for those struggling financially. This practice challenged the Israelites to view wealth and possessions differently. It reminded them that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in their relationship with God and their obedience to his commands. It also fostered a spirit of generosity and compassion, encouraging them to lend freely to those in need, knowing that God would provide for them. Deuteronomy 15 also addresses the treatment of slaves, mandating their release after 6 years of service. This practice challenged the institution of slavery that was prevalent in the ancient world, demonstrating God's desire for freedom and dignity for all people. It reminded the Israelites that they too were once slaves in Egypt, and that they should treat others with the same compassion and respect they desired for themselves. These laws highlight the importance of creating a just and compassionate society where the vulnerable are protected, and everyone has the opportunity for a fresh start. They challenge us to examine our own attitudes towards wealth and possessions, and to prioritize generosity and compassion in our dealings with others. I'm sure you've heard the news. BibleTales963.store is your new go-to for all things faith-inspired. At BibleTales963.store, we've got something for everyone. Whether you're looking for a thoughtful gift or a little something to express your faith, our collection has you covered. From stylish apparel that lets you wear your faith proudly, to beautiful jewelry that speaks to your soul, BibleTales963.store offers a variety of products to suit your style. Need a meaningful gift? Our home decor items and faith-based books are perfect for any occasion. Birthdays, holidays, baptisms, you name it, we've got the perfect present. And for those everyday moments of inspiration, check out our accessories and unique handcrafted items. Each piece is designed to bring peace, comfort, and a touch of spirituality into your life. Visit BibleTales963.store today to explore our full range of products. Discover the joy of sharing your faith through beautifully crafted items. BibleTales963.store, where faith and inspiration meet. Shop now and let your story shine. The Book of Deuteronomy holds a special place in the tapestry of the Bible. It serves as a powerful reminder of the covenant between God and his people. Imagine a vast desert, the sun beating down on the Israelites. They're on the cusp of entering the Promised Land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Before they cross the Jordan River, Moses gathers them. He delivers a series of speeches reiterating God's laws and commandments. This is Deuteronomy, a retelling of their history, a reminder of their obligations, and a guide for their future. Chapters 19 to 24 in particular delve into the intricacies of their social and legal life. These chapters offer a glimpse into a society striving for justice, compassion, and communal harmony. These ancient laws, though seemingly distant, resonate with timeless principles that continue to shape our world today. The laws outlined in Deuteronomy 19-24 offer a fascinating study in how a society grapples with complex issues. One such issue is the unintentional taking of a life. Imagine accidentally causing a fatal accident. Today we have legal processes to determine culpability. The Israelites had cities of refuge. These were designated safe havens for individuals who accidentally killed someone. This ensured the accused had a chance to plead their case before a fair trial. This wasn't about evading justice, it was about preventing hasty revenge. The emphasis on fairness extended to property disputes and accusations. Moving landmarks, a sneaky way to steal land, was strictly prohibited. Witness testimony was paramount. False accusations carried severe penalties, mirroring the punishment the falsely accused would have received. This underscored the importance of truth and integrity within the community. Even in times of war, Deuteronomy emphasizes restraint and ethical conduct. Soldiers were encouraged to be brave, but fear wasn't seen as weakness. Exemptions from battle were given to those with new families or homes. These exemptions showed a deep respect for life and its various stages. Before laying siege, the Israelites were commanded to offer peace. If accepted, the conquered people would become forced laborers, but their lives would be spared. However, if peace was refused, the rules changed. While men could be killed in battle, women, children, and even possessions were to be treated with respect. The destruction of fruit-bearing trees was forbidden. This served a practical purpose, ensuring sustenance for the future, but it also symbolized a respect for the land itself. Even in war there were limits, a recognition that some acts went beyond the necessities of conflict. Section 4. Respect for life. Cases of uncertain death and rebellious sons. Deuteronomy doesn't shy away from difficult situations. What happens when a body is found, and the killer remains unknown? The elders of the nearest town were tasked with a unique ritual. They would take a heifer, an animal that had never worked, to an uncultivated valley, and break its neck. This act symbolized the shedding of innocent blood. By washing their hands over the heifer, they proclaimed their innocence and sought to cleanse the community from the stain of unsolved murder. The laws concerning a rebellious son, though harsh by today's standards, highlight the importance of family and communal order. A son who consistently disobeyed his parents even after repeated attempts at correction could be brought before the elders and stoned to death. This severe punishment underscores the gravity with which disobedience was viewed. It was seen as a threat to the very fabric of family and society. Deuteronomy also addresses the treatment of the deceased. A body left hanging overnight was to be buried that same day. This practice, rooted in respect for the dead, prevented the desecration of the body and allowed for a timely burial. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase helps bring you more content. Section 5, Family Matters, Marriage, Inheritance, and Social Responsibility. Family is the cornerstone of any society, and Deuteronomy devotes considerable attention to this crucial aspect of life. The laws regarding marriage, inheritance, and social responsibility provide a glimpse into the values and priorities of the Israelites. A man who captured a female prisoner of war could marry her after a month of mourning. This period allowed her time to grieve her losses and adjust to her new life. However, if he later chose to divorce her, he was forbidden from selling her into slavery. This provision protected her dignity and acknowledged her humanity. The rights of the firstborn son were firmly established. He was entitled to a double portion of the inheritance, regardless of whether he was born to the favored wife. This law aimed to prevent disputes and ensure a clear line of inheritance. Deuteronomy also highlights the importance of social responsibility. If someone lost an animal, it was the community's duty to help find it. Similarly, if someone was struggling with a heavy load, offering assistance was not just encouraged but expected. These acts of kindness and compassion were woven into the very fabric of their social interactions. Section 6, Purity and Justice, Addressing Sexual Immorality. Deuteronomy addresses sexual immorality with a firm hand. The sanctity of marriage was paramount, and adultery carried severe consequences for both parties involved. The laws regarding sexual assault were particularly strict, reflecting the gravity of such offenses. If a man raped a betrothed woman within the city walls, both he and the woman were put to death. The assumption was that the woman, being in the city, could have cried for help. Her silence implied consent in the eyes of the law. However, if the assault occurred in the countryside, Where help might not be readily available, only the man was held accountable. This distinction highlights an attempt to consider the context and circumstances surrounding the crime. These laws, though jarring to modern sensibilities, reflect a society grappling with the complexities of human behavior and striving to establish a just system for addressing wrongdoing. Section 7. A Just and Compassionate Society, Deuteronomy's Enduring Legacy. The laws enshrined in Deuteronomy chapters 19 to 24 offer a window into the legal and social framework of ancient Israel. These laws, with their focus on justice, mercy, and communal responsibility, reflect a society striving to live in accordance with God's will. While some of these laws may seem harsh or even outdated today, they provide valuable insights into the challenges faced by a fledgling nation seeking to establish a just and compassionate society. The principles underpinning these laws, such as the presumption of innocence, the importance of fair trials, and the protection of the vulnerable, continue to resonate with us today. They serve as a reminder that the pursuit of justice and compassion is a timeless endeavor, one that requires constant vigilance and a willingness to grapple with complex ethical dilemmas. As we navigate the complexities of our own world, the wisdom embedded in these ancient laws can serve as a guiding light, illuminating the path towards a more just and compassionate future.
Deuteronomy holds a special place in the Bible. It is a book that captures the essence of a leader's final words to his people. It's like a final message from a beloved leader, filled with wisdom and guidance. Imagine Moses standing before the Israelites, his voice carrying over the vast desert. He knows he won't be entering the promised land with them, a bittersweet moment for a leader who has guided them for so long. So he uses these chapters to remind them of God's law, ensuring they remember the path they must follow. He wants to prepare them for the future. Deuteronomy means second law, a reiteration of the divine commandments. It restates the law God gave at Mount Sinai, a reminder of their covenant with God. Moses explains the law in detail, breaking it down so everyone can understand. He wants the people to understand it clearly, to internalize its teachings. He also emphasizes the blessings of obedience, the rewards that come from following God's law. He warns them about the consequences of disobedience, the hardships they will face if they stray. These chapters in Deuteronomy are powerful, filled with deep emotion and a sense of urgency. They are full of emotion and urgency, capturing the gravity of the moment. Moses knows the Israelites are about to face many challenges, both physical and spiritual. He wants them to be ready to face these challenges with strength and faith. He wants them to stay faithful to God, to hold on to their beliefs no matter what lies ahead. Deuteronomy 25 dives into specific laws that were meant to guide the Israelites in their daily lives. These laws cover various aspects of life, from social justice to personal conduct. They deal with justice, fairness, and compassion, ensuring that everyone in the community is treated with respect and dignity. For example, there are rules about court proceedings, ensuring that trials are conducted fairly. There are limits on punishments, preventing excessive penalties and promoting mercy. This ensured justice for all, regardless of one's status or background. One law protected working animals, recognizing their vital role in agriculture. Oxen were essential for farming, and their well-being was crucial for a successful harvest. The law said that an ox must be allowed to eat while working, ensuring they were not overworked or mistreated. This showed compassion even for animals, highlighting the importance of kindness in all aspects of life. Another law addressed family matters, ensuring the well-being of widows and preserving family heritage. It was called levirate marriage, a practice that provided social security for widows. If a man died without a son, his brother was to marry his widow, ensuring she was cared for. This provided for the widow and preserved the family line, maintaining social stability. These laws might seem unusual today, but they were deeply rooted in the cultural and social context of the time. But they made sense in that time and culture, reflecting the values and priorities of ancient Israelite society. They aimed to create a just and compassionate society where everyone had a role and was treated with fairness. They showed that God cared about every detail of their lives, guiding them towards a harmonious and righteous community. Deuteronomy 25 also addresses a painful memory, the Amalekites. This enemy attacked the Israelites in the wilderness. They attacked the weak and vulnerable. God commanded the Israelites to remember this. He commanded them to wipe out the Amalekites completely. This command might seem harsh to us, but it's important to understand the context. The Amalekites represent the forces that oppose God and his people. They represent evil and oppression. God wanted to protect his people from future harm. This command reminds us that there are consequences for wickedness. It also shows that God is a God of justice. He will not allow evil to go unpunished. Section 4. Offerings and tithes. Demonstrating gratitude and providing for the needy. Deuteronomy. Chapter 26 focuses on offerings and tithes. The Israelites were to bring the first fruits of their harvest to God. This was an act of gratitude. It acknowledged that everything they had came from God. They were also to give a tithe, or a tenth, of their income. This tithe supported the Levites. The Levites were the priests who served in the temple. The tithe also helped the poor and needy. This included widows, orphans, and foreigners. These practices taught the Israelites generosity. They taught them to share their blessings with others. They were reminded that God is the provider. They were to be good stewards of what he had given them. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase really helps to bring you more content. Section 5. The Covenant and its Consequences. Embracing blessings, avoiding curses. Deuteronomy chapter 27 highlights the seriousness of the covenant. The covenant was an agreement between God and the Israelites. God promised to bless them. In return, they promised to obey his laws. To emphasize this, Moses instructed them to build an altar. They were to inscribe the law on stones. They were to pronounce blessings for obedience. They were also to pronounce curses for disobedience. The blessings were amazing. They included abundance, victory, and prosperity. The curses were terrifying. They included disease, defeat, and exile. This ceremony served as a powerful reminder. It reminded them of the importance of choosing obedience. Section 6. Renewal at Moab. A second chance to choose faithfulness. Deuteronomy chapter 29 takes us to the plains of Moab. The Israelites are on the verge of entering the Promised Land. Moses uses this occasion to renew the covenant. He reminds them of God's faithfulness. He reminds them of their promises. Moses knows the Israelites have a history of disobedience. He warns them about the dangers of idolatry. He warns them about the consequences of turning away from God. He paints a vivid picture of the destruction that awaits them if they disobey. This renewal ceremony was a fresh start. It was a chance to recommit to their covenant with God. It was a reminder that God is always ready to forgive and restore. Section 7. The choice before us. Life and blessing, or death and curse. Deuteronomy chapter 30 concludes with a powerful message of hope and redemption. It is a chapter that speaks directly to the heart, urging us to reflect on the paths we choose in life. Moses assures the Israelites that even if they disobey, God will not abandon them. His love and mercy are ever present, offering a chance for renewal and restoration. If they repent and return to him, he will restore them. This promise of restoration is a testament to God's unwavering commitment to his people. Moses presents them with a choice. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. This declaration is both a warning and an invitation. Therefore, choose life that both you and your descendants may live. This choice is not just for the present generation, but for future ones as well. This choice has implications for us today. In our modern world, we are constantly faced with decisions that reflect our values and beliefs. We also face a choice between following God and going our own way. Each path leads to vastly different outcomes. Choosing God's way leads to life, blessing, and purpose. It brings fulfillment and a sense of direction that aligns with his divine plan. Choosing our own way leads to pain, emptiness, and destruction. It is a path fraught with challenges and devoid of true peace. Deuteronomy chapters 25 to 30 are more than just ancient law. They are a profound narrative that speaks to the human condition and our relationship with the divine. It's a timeless message of God's love, justice, and faithfulness. A message that transcends time and culture, resonating with believers across generations. It's a call to choose life, embrace obedience, and experience the blessings of a covenant relationship with him. A call that invites us to live in harmony with his will and enjoy the fullness of his promises.
The journey had been long. 120 years had passed since Moses' birth. He led his people through trials and triumphs. Now they stood on the precipice of a new chapter. Moses felt the weight of his years. His body, though strong, was ready for rest. He knew his time to lead was ending. Moses gathered the Israelites. He shared the news. He would no longer be able to lead them into the promised land. Their hearts were heavy. They had known no other leader. Moses was their shepherd, their guide through the wilderness. But Moses had prepared for this moment. He had chosen a successor, a man named Joshua. Joshua was young, strong, and full of God's Spirit. Moses had mentored him, shared his wisdom. He had faith in Joshua. Moses encouraged Joshua. "Be strong and courageous," he said. "Do not be afraid." He assured Joshua that God would be with him, just as he had been with Moses. The torch was being passed. A new era was about to begin. Moses knew the importance of preserving their history. He knew the Israelites could forget, they could stray from their covenant with God. So he took quill and parchment. He wrote down God's teachings, every law, every commandment, every promise. This became the Book of Teachings, a sacred record of their journey, a reminder of their commitment to God. Moses entrusted this book to the Levites, the priestly tribe. He instructed them to keep it safe, to treat it with reverence. But the Book of Teachings was not meant to be locked away, it was meant to be shared. Moses commanded the Levites to read from the book every 7 years. During the Festival of Shelters, they would gather the people. Young and old would listen to the words of God. This public reading served as a powerful reminder. It reminded the Israelites of their history, of their ancestors' deliverance from slavery. It reminded them of the covenant they made with God, and it reminded them of the blessings promised for their obedience. Moses was a prophet. He could see into the future, and what he saw about the Israelites worried him. He knew their hearts. They were prone to wander, to forget God in times of peace and prosperity. He knew they would be tempted to turn away from God, to embrace the idols of other nations. So Moses composed a song unlike any other. It was a song of warning, a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience. It spoke of God's faithfulness, but it also spoke of his righteous anger. It warned of the punishments that would befall them if they strayed from the covenant. But the Song of Moses wasn't just a message of doom. It also offered hope. Hope for repentance, for reconciliation with God. It reminded them that even in their unfaithfulness, God's love would never completely abandon them. He would remain faithful even when they were not. This song was a gift, a final plea from their leader, a plea to remember, to choose faithfulness, to choose God. He commanded them to teach it to their children, to sing it throughout their generations. It was to be a constant reminder of their history and a warning for their future. Section 4, Blessings Bestowed, Words for a Journey Unseen. Before Moses bid his final farewell, he gathered the 12 tribes of Israel. He looked upon them with love and concern. He knew the challenges that lay ahead. He knew they would face enemies and hardships in the promised land. They needed his blessing. One by one, Moses spoke to each tribe. He pronounced blessings tailored to their unique strengths and weaknesses. He spoke of their potential, their roles in the future nation. His words were filled with hope and encouragement. They were a father's parting gift to his children. To Judah, he promised leadership. To Levi, he entrusted the priesthood. To Joseph, he foretold prosperity and abundance. He reminded each tribe of their shared heritage, their common bond as descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These blessings were more than just words. They were prophetic pronouncements, declarations of God's favor and purpose for each tribe. They were meant to guide them, to shape their identity, to remind them of their unique place in God's plan. Like comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. To support this channel, visit our Christian-themed store at BibleTales963.store. Every purchase really helps to bring you more content. Section 5, a final glimpse, the promised land from afar. Moses' time was drawing to a close. God instructed him to climb Mount Nebo. From its summit, Moses would be granted a view of the land he had longed to enter, the land he had led his people to, the promised land. As Moses ascended the mountain, his heart ached. He knew he would not be stepping foot in that land. He had disobeyed God at Meribah years ago, and because of that he was forbidden from entering. But he could see it. He could feast his eyes on its beauty. From his vantage point, Moses saw it all: the Jordan River flowing like a silver ribbon, the fertile plains ripe for harvest, the distant hills dotted with olive groves and vineyards. It was more magnificent than he could have imagined. A land flowing with milk and honey. A bittersweet joy filled Moses' heart. He had completed his task. He had brought his people to the edge of their destiny. Though he couldn't enter, he knew they would. His life's work had not been in vain. Section 6. The passing of a prophet. Moses' death and burial. The time had come. Moses, at the age of 120, was to die. God, in his mercy, made Moses' death a peaceful one. He simply breathed his last. There was no fanfare, no dramatic pronouncements, just a quiet passing from this life to the next. And in a fitting tribute to his humility, God himself buried Moses. No human hand touched his body. No one, to this day, knows the exact location of his tomb. He was laid to rest in an unmarked grave somewhere in the land of Moab. The Israelites mourned Moses' death for 30 days. They wept for their leader, their teacher, their prophet. They wept for the man who had led them out of slavery, who had spoken to God face to face, who had guided them for 40 years through the wilderness. But even in their grief, they knew that life must go on. They had a land to conquer, a destiny to fulfill. Moses had prepared them. He had given them the tools they needed. Now it was up to them to claim their inheritance. Section 7. A legacy etched in stone. Moses' enduring impact. Moses may be gone, but his legacy lived on. He was more than just a leader. He was a lawgiver, a prophet, a historian, a writer, a man of God. He was the human instrument through which God delivered the Israelites from slavery. He was the conduit through which God revealed his law. His influence is felt even today. The 10 Commandments, etched in stone, remain a cornerstone of Western law and morality. The Book of Deuteronomy, his final message to his people, continues to be studied and debated by scholars and theologians. Moses' life serves as a testament to the power of faith. He showed the world what it means to answer God's call, to lead with courage and compassion, to stand up for justice and righteousness, to trust God even in the face of overwhelming odds. Though he never set foot in the promised land, Moses' spirit lives on. His story continues to inspire. His words continue to challenge. His legacy continues to remind us that one person, empowered by God, can change the course of history.